So welcome to, or welcome back to, my desk. So I talked about my experience with the Flexi Spot desk back in spring of 2023. It is now fall 2023 and I have a new desk and I want to talk about my experience with it thus far. This is the Uplift Standing Desk V2 Commercial with a T frame, the black laminate desktop, and the 60-inch by 30-inch desktop size. So I've had about 2 months with this desk, so this has been my experience in those 2 months so far. I'm going to give my honest opinion about this desk, positives and negatives, and as always, if you wish to skip ahead to any part, the timestamps are in the description of this video. The pricing and decision process. This desk was $888 before taxes at the time of when I purchased it. The total came out to a little under $1,000, which for me makes sense to invest in a desk because I work full-time from home and this is something that I use literally every day and plan to use for a really long time. I did a ton of research before making this purchase decision on Reddit, Google, other desk review websites, YouTube videos, and I was really in between this and the Jarvis, the Fully Jarvis, and the Ergonoff's desk. I ultimately went with Uplift because of the free offerings, which I'll get into, and the T-frame option. The reason why I updated my desk from the Flexi Spot 1, I had that for a little less than a year, is because when I switched to a larger monitor here, this is a 32-inch monitor, the desk became so unstable with its weight that it was hard to focus, it was hard to adjust with the monitor shaking so much. It became almost unusable to sit and stand, especially standing though. I would never use that feature anymore because the wobbling was just so bad. Other than that, it was a good desk until I made that monitor switch, but if you want to see a more in-depth review, I will link that in the cards in the description below. Just to give an overview of like the specs, 60 by 30 inches instead of the standard standing size that they have on their website, which is 42 by 30. V2 commercial T-frame, advanced comfort flush keypad, and I did not customize the grommets. I just got the regular like drilled circle grommets. In terms of size, I knew I wanted a bigger space for working. My last space was definitely sufficient, but since I have more space in my office now for desk in general, I just wanted to go with something bigger. It's also very important for me to have the option to mount the monitor because that was a problem that I had with my last desk. I couldn't mount it because it had drawers, and now this desk, I didn't get one with drawers, but now I can mount the monitor if I want to. I actually just haven't yet because I wanted to make sure that everything's all good without even using the monitor arm. I also had a really hard time choosing a desk color and just ultimately went with black, but I love when people have like the light color desk, like the light wood and the white frame. I'm just so used to having a black desk, I guess. I just felt that my decor maybe wouldn't go with the lighter frame. Another decision I had to make on the Uplift website was choosing between the frame type and the commercial versus regular desk. I went with the T-frame and commercial because I believed it would give me extra stability. Although the website doesn't claim that there's a difference between the T-frame and the C-frame, I felt that I needed to try the T-frame to hopefully avoid the biggest headache that I was having, which was the desk shaking. So the T-frame has the frame in the middle of the desk, whereas the C-frame has the frame like on the back of the desk. So I went with the T-frame because I believe that like distributing the weight evenly would help me solve that problem that I was having. Again, like I said, they say there's no difference on the website, but that's just how my mind thought about it. It does go a little lower and a little higher, and I think I just also figured maybe it would be a little more stable because of that. So Uplift does include some freebies that I definitely did not need, but they were definitely a nice perk, and the main one was the standing desk mat. I knew I was gonna buy one of these anyways, so super glad that it was included already with the price of the desk. Those can run from like $40 to $60, like just starting. It's basically a mat that goes on the ground to help with fatigue, and I found that it actually really works for me. And it also came with a free wire management tray, which is super helpful, a bamboo desk organizer, and a writing disc pad. I didn't end up using the bamboo organizer or the desk pad. So other add-ons, the grommet cover, because I didn't customize the grommets, you can add like USB. You can make them like a pencil holder or like a USB hub. I just decided to go with the plain ones in case I want to use the monitor arm mount there. I did pick the 2-leg desk. I know that they have a 4-leg desk and that would be like super stable, but it is definitely a little more expensive in price. I think it was easily over $1,000 just starting. I chose the Advanced Comfort Flush keyboard because I like that it's flush against the wall. There's another one that kind of juts out a little bit, and then there's also the ones, it's like an up and down and it doesn't have the presets. I knew I wanted something with presets. That's something I had with my uplift desk and they're super helpful to have, and I just like that it's more like against the desk. I don't need to have it like on an angle to press the button. So installation process, shipping was relatively quick. They placed the order on Sunday, July 23rd and was delivered on Thursday, July 27th. So about 4 business days for shipping. I will say one thing is that it came in 4 boxes when it was delivered, and one of them was definitely a little damaged. It was like open. Thankfully, nothing had spilled out, but I do also feel super bad for the delivery people. This thing is heavy, super heavy to bring up the stairs, bring into my apartment even. And then let me talk about the building process. I'm not particularly handy, crafty in the construction building space. This desk took well over like, I want to say like 3 to 4 hours to build, which I think is longer than it's normally supposed to take. I had my partner helping me as well, and it just took us a really long time. We were actually building it at night and then we stopped and then finished building it in the morning because it was taking so long. There's just a lot of parts and just steps that you just gotta make sure that you're following. Oh, and at one point you definitely want to have 2 people helping to get the frame in the right position to screw it in. It's like super heavy, and if you just had one person, it would be very difficult to do that on your own. But I will say, yeah, the building process was not that smooth, but thankfully you only have to do it once. If you don't have a lot of space in the area where you're setting it up, I would recommend maybe starting to build the frame in the area where you have more space, but then definitely start to bring it upstairs to put the final product together, because this thing is super heavy and I would not have wanted to bring it upstairs in one piece as opposed to bringing it upstairs in 2 pieces. So some positives about this desk. Most importantly is that I do not face the same shaking issue that I had before with the FlexiSpot desk. This thing is so much more stable, so much more sturdy than my experience with FlexiSpot, and also just how the weight is distributed on my desk. Having a large monitor, it's heavy, but thankfully it's working a lot better with this desk. No standing desk is completely like shake free. Like if you're gonna like tap the desk, things definitely shake, but this one I definitely do not notice it nearly as bad as I had it on the other desk. Very smooth lifting and lowering between the presets. It's very easy to set them, easily adjustable. It's quiet, sounds smooth. I typically switch in between 3 preset options. I have this one, which is like a normal sitting position, one that's a little higher so I can like cross my legs or like put my knees up and just kind of work a little bit higher. And then I have my preferred standing position, but all of them are super easy to adjust, super smooth, super quick. Very happy with that. I also like that the desk is big. I have tons of room for using my iPad in one corner. You can have space for writing. Love that it's so big. I also like that you can mount a monitor. You can get one of those like add-on drawers for standing desk. I have my headphones hanging underneath it. There's like obviously room underneath for things, and you can add more holes into the desk if you want to add additional cable management solutions. It honestly does its job as a desk, as a good standing desk, and I'm super happy with it. Negatives for the desk, I will say, because of the commercial T frame, instead of getting this C frame, the bar at the bottom is in the way of your feet, and I did hit my shins on it a couple of times, but I did get used to it. That's definitely something to note if you are considering the T frame as opposed to the C frame. They also sell hammocks that you can put under their desk, and you can't do it with the T frame because of the bar there. As opposed to the C frame, you're able to mount your hammock and just kind of lay underneath your desk. I know that I personally don't need to do that, but I guess it would be cool. That is definitely something of note, and it's something that I dealt with for a couple weeks when I was first using the desk. You would have a similar problem with any laminate blacktop desk, is that fingerprints really do show up on here. And I'd say they start to get really noticeable after a couple of days, but it's really easy to clean it off with a microfiber cloth. For the grommets that I chose, I kind of wish that I picked a USB charging one potentially, because I'm constantly charging my phone, my iPad around my desk. But if I had made one of the grommets like a charging station, that maybe would have made it like a little more functional, added some functionality to it. I will say the price of this desk could also be negative. It's definitely on the higher side for standing desks. My last one was $399 versus almost $1,000 for this one. So definitely something to take into consideration. Something that the FlexiSpot desk had that this one does not is that there's no option to lock your presets. So there was a button where you could lock your heights. On the last one, you have to unpress it. It was like a child safe lock on my last desk. This one does not have that. So if you press a button, that thing is going up or down, whether you like it or not. Final closing thoughts. Overall, really happy with my experience with this desk so far. I'm hoping to have it for many years to come. It's definitely a great work from home desk in my opinion, and super happy with it so far. I will try to make a follow-up video in like 6 months to a year, just in case my opinion has changed. But so far, I would definitely recommend this desk. My next step is to mount this monitor. I'm gonna make a couple more upgrades to my office space. If you wanna check that out, that'll be in a coming video. Thank you so much for watching. I'd love to hear your thoughts on this desk, or maybe you tried one of the ones that I didn't end up purchasing. Would love to hear that in the comments below, and I'll see you in the next one.